Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Greg Ormont on improvisation and playing live.
Okay.
and then you also have a new sound guy, right? Since 2022.
Yes, we've had a bit of crew turnover, all very amicable. It just kind of happens in this business. And our new front of house engineer is fantastic. And I only know that because everyone tells me that. Because when the band's on stage, it's kind of hard to hear what the crowd's hearing. But even our previous front of house engineer finally got to see us after since he moved on and said our new guy Dylan is doing a fantastic job. So that's the vote of confidence I needed.
There you go. There you go. Very good. All right. So, um, you've had. Let's start with. We talked to Gator last year. You have a new kid, right?
I
Relatively
do,
new.
yeah. I have two kids now, and our bassist had his first in this past year in
Yeah,
2023.
yeah. I have a 17 and almost 20-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So I'll give you a hint. They don't leave.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't that what parents want to an extent?
right. I've been waiting.
Selfishly?
Doors open. Um,
Yeah.
so Gator joined you guys in what, 2017?
I think it was earlier than that. I'm not a great band historian. I'll give you a disclaimer now, but I think he's been with us about 9 years, so probably 20, probably 14,
Right, 14, 15. Okay,
maybe
so was
14,
he on
15. Yeah.
psychology or was his first album Pleasure?
Boy, that's a great question. I don't think he was on Pleasure. He was definitely
Okay,
not on Psychology. I think
okay.
whatever was after Pleasure. Uh,
Pizzazz. Pizzazz.
Pizzazz, yeah, I think that was
Okay,
probably his first.
okay.
Our original drummer, to back up, we started this thing in college for fun, like as you do, and fast forward till after we graduate, and next thing we know, we're all in the van like all the time, touring. We just about 200 shows a year at that point, and our drummer had other interests, the original drummer, and just we never really sat down and said, "Hey, we're gonna take this from the dorm room and work our way through bars and then start touring, and this is gonna be our life forever." So at some point, he realized that the touring lifestyle wasn't exactly for him. He had other interests like real estate, and he was kind of an entrepreneurial guy. So he let us know. Yeah, that feels like around 2014 or so, maybe 15, and it wasn't a total shock, because it's a tough life living on the road. There's some folks who can do it, and others who can't stand the inconsistency, the lack of stability of where am I sleeping tonight, at what time, where's my food, where's my so especially in those early years when we were really kind of rough and tumble, crashing on people's floors after the show and driving ourselves to the next one, and really running on fumes. So Gator has been, that said, when it first happened, when our drummer said he was going to leave, I was very nervous and, scared at the time. And in hindsight, it was great for that original drummer for his life. And Gator has been a total blessing for our band. He's really elevated our sound and even our individual work ethic. He's such a guy who leads by example by how hard he works, even though he's already so fantastic
Right.
at his
Did
instrument.
did you have you had a chance to hear some of what he's been doing with Natalie, the
Yeah, I
Infinity
saw them
Tribe
for the
stuff?
first time finally. I have two kids, so it's hard for me to get out of the house. But we caught him at a festival, and it was fantastic. And I love that. Yeah, I think having side projects or extra things going on is nothing but great for all of
Mm,
us. It helps let you scratch different itches, and then come back to the group with new inspiration and
right.
ideas.
I got this. They opened for Lamp.
Right? Yeah, at
Yes, down in
Atlantis. How is
Atlantis.
that place?
Oh my God, fantastic. One of my oldest friends called me up before it opened and she said, she worked for IMP at Meriwether. And she's like, I might be able to get tickets for Atlantis. Would your daughter, my youngest, want to go see the Foo Fighters if I can get tickets? I
Oh
was like,
man.
sure. She got the 2 tickets for the Foo Fighters. So my youngest got to go there opening night and
Oh
see that.
man,
Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
I was like, man, a lot of people got mad at her.
Yeah,
for picking my
that was
kid to
probably
go, but I was like, who
25.
better? My 17-year-old, that's her whole life. She'll remember that. That's gonna be,
Yeah,
formative,
that's
such a formative thing.
could she realize how rare it was that they were there?
Right, exactly, exactly. So, well,
Yeah,
we were gonna go see them before Taylor died. They were gonna
yeah,
play Merriweather that summer, so that kind of broke her heart.
of
All right,
course.
wow. So we digressed. Yeah, the school you were at was the University of Maryland. I want to send a shout out to the Terps. I also matriculated from there.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Did you guys graduate or did you just
75% of us graduated.
there you go.
Pretty good.
Very good. Yeah, that's probably better than the national average there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's start with since we had talked to Gator before, let's start with when he first got in with you and you guys decided to go into the studio. I'm sure a process developed. Then quarantine hit. I'm assuming that process changed after Presto before Perspective. You want to talk a little bit about did you road test songs normally first and then record? And was that flipped for the quarantine period?
Yeah, that's it's been interesting. Yes, we usually do like to road test our songs just because, especially in this jam world, like it's not it's almost a cliche, but like the fans truly impact the course of the songs each night and with that energy. So we like to, test them out, and see what seems to be resonating and where maybe there's room to trim, because the big thing with a band like us who improvises so much and has extended sections is making sure that energy is in the studio, but it's still concise, because there isn't, you can't see our faces, you can't see the light show, so we gotta, try to pick our pick our moments to extend and pick our moments to trim, so it's kind of digestible but still us, and that's been something we've been working on every album. I think we're getting better at it. But in terms of even just the biggest change with COVID and the lockdown was songwriting approach, because we there's a bunch of ways that we write songs. Sometimes, Jeremy, our guitarist, will often come in with a pretty fleshed out idea with bass parts and guitar parts and stuff, and just not vocals. I usually add those on. And then I more so come with a looser idea, like kind of the bones of a song, and I almost approach it like the band is going to cover this idea. We're gonna, and I always kind of think like it's easier to mold clay than make it. So I just provide a little clay, and then the four of us get our hands on it. And even when Jeremy writes something more fleshed out, we all put our fingerprints on it and let it morph as naturally it happens. But what happened with COVID was we couldn't do that. Like we couldn't meet up and take these songs on test drives. So it was almost a blessing in disguise just from a songwriting perspective, in that we started sharing each other song ideas digitally. So if I had an idea, I'd send it in the cloud essentially, and when Jeremy had time, he would add on to it, or Ben or Alex would give notes on it too. And our as a result of that, our songwriting exploded. Not only did we need to, like, for our souls, we needed to keep playing music during that really uncertain time where we like our number one vice was taken away, which is playing live. So we were just writing constantly, and we found this new way to keep that ball rolling without having to get all four of us together in a room. And as a result, like there are just little stems of an idea here or full fledged songs here, and they start bouncing back and forth. And as you mentioned, three out of four of us have kids now, so we still practice as much as we can, usually at least once a week, if not twice a week. But when we were, 22 with no kids, we were practicing all the time, like, nonstop, no responsibilities but jamming. So it's nice to know that, like, if I have a free moment in between naps in my house with the kids at 4 p.m. and write a song idea and send it to the guys, it might be 4 a.m. when Jeremy gets to it, but he gets to it. He still has the opportunity to help the songs push forward. So, actually, for the first time, believe it or not, on the previous album Perspective, we had a song that was released that we had never played live, and all of the other studio songs we had released before had been played live. So that was, while that's pretty common in the pop world, for us it was brand new and kind of exciting. And was also a bit challenging for our patients because we really wanted to play it live, but we had to wait for the record to come out to see how that would go, and it was interesting.
So, was your did it fulfill your expectation when you did play it live? Did you get what you wanted from the crowd?
Um, I think with new music, it takes a while for everyone to really click into it in a way that I'm used to with some of our older material. But I think it's hard to look at it in a vacuum. Like that particular song was called Elefante. It had horns on it, featuring Here Come the Mummies, which is an amazing band, and their horn section's incredible. And then we played it live. I don't remember if there were horns on it the first time we played it because we don't have horns in the band. We'll just like have sit-ins and whatnot. So it's interesting. It's another thing with the studio where if you're looking just at a studio record and horns would elevate the song, you do it. But then when you play it live, the horns aren't there. So it's kind of a balance between, well, like how much do we want to elevate it because we still want to play it live. But in short, I mean, it was a relief to finally play it. And if I could look back on it now, I mean, after having played it multiple times, now I think like not only do the fans know the structure of the song and the words and things like that, but we've also found a nice home for the live jam, that improv that extends it, and then it feels more like a choose your own adventure moment where the song is a little more exciting
Right.
for everyone, you know.
Right. Does having horns, you've had them play live with you, horn players play live with you before. Does that change how you approach the improvisation in those songs?
Um, to an extent, but I think more than anything, it kind of changes our view of the set list creation because it's kind of hard to come back from adding four horns and then back to the four of us without it. So like we kind of choose the right moments or the peaks of the shows that fit right, or we're very selective about what comes after that when they walk off stage, make sure it's kind of powerful, uh, or at the same time, like it can go different ways. If we know that the horns are going to be on stage with us and they're going to crush some song when original with a cover inside of it, back to the original, some big moment, that kind of sometimes gives us license to play something fresh after because the crowd just got this big epic moment that we can kind of almost expect when writing the set list. So let's slide in a new song after that because we just satiated the peak for the moment. So I think that affects it more than the improv because we usually play with people who sit in, who have big ears, who listen to what's going on, and aren't afraid to sit out during moments or aren't afraid to try something new in moments. So I think the improv is generally uh, as is. And I'll look over it to them and just even sometimes just give them like an encouraging nod, like say, hey, you can
It's
try
okay.
something. You can try something here. It's good to be that way though when you're a guest on someone else's stage. You don't want to overstep. That's a quick way to not get asked back. Sometimes you just need like a little. Let's go, yeah, go for it. Let's see.
Yep. Who writes the set list?
Jeremy leads the way on the set list for sure. I would say he's very aware of how keys are related to each other as the night goes on, as well as the energy and the types of jams and the he likes to keep it fresh, and the biggest thing for us, like which is a no brainer for jam bands, is no set is the same. So
Right.
that he almost takes beyond expectation. So he looks back on what we did. Like if we're in Boston, what did we do last time we were in Boston, which is like 18 months ago? Or what did we do when we were in Massachusetts, which was kind of near, like within like a 3 hour radius, or at that festival where people from Boston attend? What do we play there? Just so, not that we don't repeat things from those shows, but like if you don't pay attention to that, we have like, I don't know, something like 400 covers we play. And it would be a funny coincidence if we didn't do that research to play the same cover both times we were in Boston the last 2 years. So even though we have 400 covers to choose from, the happenstance of that occurring might make a fan think, oh, they're kind of just, that's just what
They
they
always
do.
play
They
that.
rest on their laurels and they play the big, Pink Floyd song every show, I guess. It's not really So it almost is a fail safe way doing that research to make sure that we're not accidentally, pulling the same punches.
Right, there you go. Yeah, we've talked to a lot of people with set lists. Hi, Amanda.
Hey, good
Hey,
morning.
Amanda.
Um,
Hello.
we talked to a lot of people who've done set lists, and it's either some people handwrite them. They have like list of handwritten. Other people have the whole spreadsheet thing out in order to go back. We talked to Matt Bush, and that was completely fascinating because he isn't even in the band, and he writes the Dead and Company set list every night.
Is that right?
Yeah. Bob Weir's manager is the guy who writes all the set lists for Bobby and Dead and Company. Yeah.
No way. Well, as a musician, I could see that being interesting because, like, Jeremy does spend a lot of time crafting it, and it might be nice to, you know, approach it from a less analytical way and just see, okay, how do these piece together? This is what's on my plate today. Instead of, like I just said, 400 covers, it's kind of hard to choose which one to play each night. So it's maybe nice for someone like I don't envy Jeremy taking the reins on our set list nightly. But from there, once he presents it, I with fresh eyes, we're all like, oh well, we could do this one, or this one would fill that void if we wanted, or maybe we just make suggestions and he's open to moving them around and things like that.
Wow. So this is super random, but I was just talking to someone about the Skull and Roses festival.
Mhm.
It's basically Grateful Dead, Dead tributes, and apparently the organizers of that festival send out to everyone set lists from prior years or the day before because the chance of so many repeated songs, I guess, is so great.
That's so interesting. I
Yeah.
I think about that a lot when we show up to a festival on Saturday, and it's been going on since Thursday. It's interesting that, like, it seems like it would be more common that you would accidentally play like the same cover song, without
Yeah.
knowing it, because we don't communicate in that sense. So, like, there have been festivals where we're about to play and we hear one of the songs we were going to play on another stage, and we're like, well, let's go back to the drawing board because we're not going to play that back to back. I
Yeah.
imagine at Skull and Roses that's kind of comes with the territory, but it's funny that
Yeah.
that doesn't happen more often, the
I
sharing
totally
or the
agree.
accidental repeats.
Right on.
I've been to a festival where we played, and then the next day I stayed and enjoyed the festival, and another band played the cover that we had played yesterday because they weren't here. And,
Mhm.
like, it does happen, and the bands don't know. The crowd probably knows, but they also probably don't care. That's
I'll say
why,
they
at least
probably.
when we do covers, we try to make them our own. We don't just play songs. We like to try to put our spin on it. So we just did last year for Halloween. We did a Talking Radioheads set or run, which was Talking Heads and Radiohead, and a lot of the Radiohead was kind of like slower and melancholy for our usual taste. So we kind of injected it with funk, or we did some reggae versions of their songs, and that helps protect us from the accidental, double cover in a festival.
Have any of the songs stuck around? Any Radiohead songs pop back up again?
Definitely, yeah, and that's what's cool about doing these themes is you end up with material that goes on for a while, and for us, and hopefully some of our fans, we kind of remember its origin. Like, I'm sure a lot of bands share in this experience. Like, if Fish plays something from that year, they made up the Caspot Vox, album. I'm sure it just brings you right back to that year. And yeah, we've played since then. We played Weird Fishes again. We've played High and Dry a bunch. I think we played Karma Police since Halloween. But it's great. That's how you end up with 400 covers. Is when you just
I love it.
try out a bunch on and keep them fresh, see what clicks.
You guys record everything, or everything is streamed somehow, right?
Yeah, we're on nugs.net for our live shows, and in fact, we actually record our practices too and our sound
Mm.
checks.
Oh,
So do you listen back
Oh
to
yeah.
your
Well,
shows, your live shows?
we should more. There's something about, like, you know, so we do early on when new songs are getting fleshed out in practice or sound check, and maybe we'll listen the first take of it and it's a lot easier to be analytical when you're not actively playing and using that part of your mind. But there's also like, I don't know, like for instance, like the studio album, the amount of times I've heard each song is unbelievable. You know, making tweaks and adding parts and listening to those parts, that to the point where it's like, I don't need to hear this anymore. I've heard, I think I've reached my lifetime limit. I would say we almost listen to maybe like practice and sound check more than the live shows, and that's for songwriting. In fact, recently we had a like we improvise a lot in practice and at sound checks and shows. We practice improvising, you know, and learning each other's tendencies and groupthink and all that. And we recently had a jam in practice that I was listening to in the car after dropping my daughter off at school, and I loved it, and I started singing over it, over the recording. And then I went home and took that recording and spliced it up and made like a loose structure and a verse and a chorus and an intro, which got changed, but I was able to utilize that recording to present a more concise, like I took a 25-minute jam and presented like a 4-minute quote unquote like song structure with vocals that I recorded at home. And like we were talking, Kevin, like I sent that out digitally, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that works. We'll review it." And by the time we got to practice, we started working on it. We just released it on New Year's Eve as a debut. So recording and listening back helps, and it also helps like, you know, listening to how the bass fits in with the guitar and the drums fit in with the bass, and you know, making sure all the puzzle pieces are lined up.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.